it's a part of life. But when we don't manage it properly, it builds and builds, and it steals our joy and our ability to live life to the fullest. Imagine how great our lives would be if we were just able to manage big and small stressors in our lives. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hello, and welcome to Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. I am so excited to welcome Sara Webb. She is a speaker, a mom, an author, and a coach. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Robin.
I forgot to mention twice a day meditator, because that's the biggie. That's what you really use to manage your stress. Talk to us a little bit about your background, how you got involved in this, what you're doing to help people, and how it actually helps them.
Absolutely. I am a meditation healer, essentially. I teach meditation. I guide people toward their own spiritual alignment. Of course, I speak publicly and I run groups because meditation saved my life. I am a different person because I began meditating for 20 minutes twice a day, doing a practice called Transcendental Meditation 6 years ago. And that really changed the way that I was able to experience my life. It gave me that 30,000 foot view of my habits and my responses or reactions. There's a big difference between a reaction and a response that's
Sure.
more measured. And when I began meditating regularly, which I had tried other kinds of meditation before, but when I began really leaning into it, I started to see myself and I started to really notice what I was doing in my life. And so a cascade of beautiful and very hard things occurred in my life. After I began meditating regularly, I came out of the closet. I got a divorce. I got sober off of alcohol, and not necessarily in that order, but that all occurred in 2019. And I'm so blessed because I am a free person now. I am free from the chains of any substances, and I'm able to live my life as the woman that I am. I was repressing some old sexual trauma and trying to numb out with the most accepted drug that there is out there, alcohol. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't drink at all, but for me, it was a crutch and it was a
Sure.
way to not feel. And so when I got free, I realized that I was not enjoying and I wasn't able to be intimate with my now ex-husband. So I got a divorce and came out because I had lived as a gay woman, but in the closet many years prior, and then subsequently sustained that incredibly traumatic event. And I am teaching people how to get in touch with themselves because there's really a lot of actual biology around meditation works. And if you will, I'll share.
Absolutely, because so many times when people hear the word meditation, it's just, oh, it's somebody sitting on a mountain cross-legged, meditation. I mean, it's getting to be more and more acceptable now, but we don't learn it as kids. It's not something part of most people's lives. It's kind of out there, some kind of thing. We know it's good, but what is it? How do you do it? And people are busy. And just like you said, you can lose track of things and start, getting stuck on other substances to kind of numb your stress or your pain or whatever it is. So yes, talk to us about that. What is meditation? How does it work? And what are the ways we can incorporate it into our lives?
Wow, I can't wait to
It's a
answer
lot.
all of those questions. I
It's a
hope
lot
that
of
I can.
questions.
First, I'll go back to a comment that you made. Deepak Chopra said that if we would just teach every 8-year-old in the world to meditate, we would achieve world peace in 1 generation.
Wow, that's a big statement.
And Deepak Chopra, I mean, gosh, he's a powerhouse.
Knows what he's talking about. Yes.
He absolutely knows what he's talking about. And when we get quiet with ourselves, which is, I mean, you said it very aptly, most people are afraid to get quiet with themselves. When we experience discomfort, we reach for the familiar, the television show, the person, the shopping online. It's distraction and dissociation in order to not feel what we don't want to feel, these perceived negative emotions. And we store those things in our bodies. And we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and our bodies have so much to tell us. And I'll give you the science behind it. All around us, it doesn't matter if you're in a busy street or on a mountaintop, there are literally billions of bits of data. That's billions with a B. And the human brain is pretty phenomenal, and it can process around 11 million bits per second. However, we are only conscious of between 40 and 50 of those 11 million bits per second. That's right, not 40 or 50,000. On average, we're conscious of 45 out of the 11 million bits that are hitting our brains and our bodies. 99.96% of information that we have available to us is being processed by our subconscious. So that means we're conscious of 0.04%. We also have 5 senses, and we have 11 million sensory receptors, but 10 million out of the 11 million sensory receptors are dedicated to our sight. So if you want to access that 99.96% of information, well, shut off 10 million of your 11 million sensory receptors and slow your brain down and listen to the wisdom of your body. I mean, we're so busy telling our body what to do: drive the car, brush the teeth, go to work. It's always our mind telling our body, but our bodies have this information. We're only conscious of 0.04%. So if we just sit down and begin to listen to the wisdom that our bodies contain, and there are a number of different techniques. I mean, there are literally thousands of different techniques out there. And I think it's a big barrier because a lot of people think, yes, I'm not doing it right, or they feel like they need an instructor, or maybe they're afraid of what might come up, like some sort of a trauma.
But they just don't know how to do it. I mean, it could be as simple as that. What is meditate? How do you do it? And so they just don't.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, people have this idea of what's supposed to happen, that you're supposed to be sitting in a lotus, or you're supposed to be in this beautiful, serene place. I mean, I've meditated in a lot of weird places. I use my car a lot, actually. I don't meditate and drive. Trust me, that is not something I condone.
That's good. Good to know.
But, before I leave a location, especially work, or before I go inside of a location, especially home, before I get caught up in all that stuff, or before, like, hey, I'm on the way home with the groceries, honey, I'll be there in 15 minutes. You've got 3 minutes. You've got 5 minutes to just sit back, close your eyes, turn off 10 million or 11 million sensory receptors and get quiet and allow your brain to go into some of the brainwave states that we have in the early part of our lives. We're in those lower level frequency brainwave states, which is forming our subconscious and during sleep, but we're not conscious of our subconscious during sleep. So if we can use these techniques, then we can access that information that our subconscious holds, which is our programming. I mean, we are running software programs that are established before the development of our prefrontal cortex, which is our brain's CEO. It's literally in the front of our brain, and it's making all of our decisions. And it has strongholds of beliefs that were formed before the age of 10, mostly between the ages of 4 and 7. So we have these beliefs about life. And if we can just sit down and say, okay, what is really true? A lot of times we cling to these shoulds, but a should is an expectation.
Yes.
An outside expectation, an interior expectation. And even if it's an interior expectation, it's probably rooted in an exterior expectation from someone else, from society, or from our mom, or from our first grade teacher, or whatever.
This is what you should do. This is how you should be. Yes.
Exactly.
Of course.
So meditation just helps us to get in touch with ourselves. It's our birthright, and it's really mainstream modern day magic. And for the most part, it is completely free. I mean, there's apps like Headspace that maybe you pay a few dollars a month, but there's plenty for free on there. Insight Timer has a lot of free things.
Since
YouTube.
COVID, you've noticed a lot more. Yeah. Yes. People needed it, of course.
Absolutely.
Well, talk to us about how you go about it. Like, say someone's listening and just, I've never meditated, but I want to try it. What's a good way to start?
There are so many different resources out there. You can Google it. You can go on YouTube. There are thousands and thousands, probably millions of free meditations on YouTube that some are music, some are guided. There's so many different ways. You can go to Buddhist temples. You can go to yoga studios. You can find an online course with thousands and probably millions different. I did an online course with Deepak Chopra before I found TM. If you're interested in TM and you have the resources for it, it is a 4-day course, 2 hours each. I highly advocate for it because it's mantra meditation. And a mantra is just a thought, word, sound that you repeat in your head, and you don't have to stop the thoughts, which is why that worked for me. Mindfulness and meditation never worked for me because it had to do with like pushing the thoughts away and seeing them as floating by on a luscious cloud. And I'm like, well, where is the cloud? And is it about to rain? And I'm just analyzing this cloud. I can't shut my brain off. So this mantra meditation worked for me because it kind of inhabits this space. Like if you have a song stuck in your head, but you can still think. And somehow it's like magic. I mean, I have found great resources and I've done some of the advanced meditations. I'm not a TM teacher. I am not, you have to find a certified TM teacher in order to.
We should say what it is.
Yeah, but you can just go to tm.org.
However you say that.
Transcendental Meditation. You can just go to tm.org. But there's so many different kinds out there. So if you want to start. I mean, Google it,
just
Bing it, whatever you want to do.
And how many minutes a day? I mean, you can do this for just a few minutes a day to get started, just to kind of dabble in it. Does that do anything to help you in just a few minutes a day?
It's starting the habit, starting the practice. There's a great book by, it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. He says, if you want to start to exercise, maybe make your goal that you're going to come home, lace up your shoes, drive to the gym and stay for 10 minutes. You don't I see these trainers sometimes in the gym and they're pounding these people who haven't exercised in years or who maybe have never exercised. And that's not the way to get somebody to stick to something. You start slow and you just start the habit. Because if you can go to the gym for 10 minutes, 3 times a week, then maybe next week you'll stay for 20 minutes. And then you start to really experience the endorphins and the positive emotions, and you start to feel stronger mentally, physically, spiritually, energetically.
You see the benefits. Sure.
Exactly. So it's just about
when you meditate, do you want to just, I mean, it probably would be good to find a quiet spot if you could, I would imagine, and listen to music or listen to something. And then what comes into your mind and how does that change your chemistry and how does that make you feel better and do better as a person?
Well, there are so many different ways to access this deep space. I mentioned mantra. There's also body awareness. We can do breath work. We can do guided meditations. And some of these guided meditations are breath work. There's people like Wim Hof, and he's one of the most famous ones. He's a little extreme, but he has an app and a whole program, and it's incredibly intense breathing, but just deepening the breath. I mean, most people don't access the full capacity of their lungs unless they're regular exercisers. They don't exhale completely, inhale completely from the diaphragm. And just oxygenating your brain and your heart and just putting oxygen in your bloodstream while you're sitting is incredibly invigorating and will make you kind of feel super conscious. So all these things are meditative if you just close your eyes and bring your circle of awareness within. Because like I said, we're always so focused on out here and people pleasing and tasks and distractions and entertainment and addictions, shopping, whatever it is. And so if we can just find the kind that works for you, so start the habit and then continue to try different kinds. There are hertz music things that are for very specific ways to heal different parts of your body. And just body awareness. Like a really great way to meditate is when you're experiencing something difficult. And I'm certified as a coach with Dr. Sue Morter to sit down and notice what area of my body is being activated by this situation. And then I teach this central channel breathing where we actually reintegrate that part of the body. That's a part of the body that's talking to us, that's not integrated with the rest of it. So we do a central channel breath, which is up and down the spine or the central nervous system where all of your nerves emanate out. And we bring this energy up and down with very intense, but very normal breath. It's just conscious breath. So it's a breath work and a visualization. It's like a spatial awareness where we're bringing the breath up through our feet and out our heads, and then through our heads and down through our feet. It's incredibly powerful. And it allows us to integrate these charged emotions. And I'll actually say, okay, a customer might be like complaining about a spouse or somebody at work. And I get them into the story so that they're really activated, and then tell them to tap in. And then we do this central channel breath after they've already learned it. And after they do the central channel breath 8-10 times, I say, okay, how do you feel about that coworker right now? And they are different. Because we're bringing awareness and literal oxygen to this area of the body that is calling out to us. A lot of times
Boy,
we're not even conscious that this area is talking to us.
Yes, the world would be a better place if we all could just take a few minutes to take a few deep breaths. That would probably do everyone a favor doing that, because I think we do react, and we move so quickly. I mean, that's just our world anymore. It's, it has to happen yesterday. And just to take a moment to slow down, it's really, I mean, from what I'm gathering, it's slowing it down. It's taking a moment, and it's just, I think, something that we all should really try to do a little bit more of. I think we really, I think during COVID, a lot of people felt that a little bit more. We had a moment. We didn't have to rush to work. We didn't, it was a horrible time. Let's face it. I mean, it was a stressful time, but there was something a little bit different about it. Our pace was a little bit slower. And I think a lot of people left their jobs. They stepped back and they realized, maybe this isn't what I want to do, or maybe this isn't the life I want to lead. They had a chance to think about it, which they normally never did, because they were, I call it the gerbil wheel. They were on a gerbil wheel and just get up, go do it again, So it does
Habits
give
are
you an
powerful.
opportunity. Yes, it gives you an
those
opportunity
habits
to
are
look at that.
powerful.
Absolutely. So you work with people online. Tell us how you work it, what you do.
My private coaching is a 13-week plan I call it a bespoke coaching program. I am also about to launch a group coaching, or it's really more group teaching, because I'm a teacher at heart. I have a master's degree in education, and I am a former teacher. I taught for 6 years, and I really like that teaching aspect more than the coaching. I feel like the coaching is a little bit more directive, but I do take private clients. I am very selective about it, because I just throw myself into it. So the online coaching program will be out soon. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm sure that'll be in the show notes in order to stay abreast with that. But I work with people just to learn about their bodies, and to learn how to breathe, and to learn how to meditate, and to learn about some of the physiology that I explained. And of course, I speak publicly, and I also work with corporations. And my wife is in medicine, so I started working with dentists and started speaking at dental conferences. And now I work with a lot of different organizations to train their employees how to handle stress in the workplace. So it's less about the spirituality and more about just coping and learning how to breathe instead when you're activated. Okay, what's going on with my body right now? I know my stress response is to tell that person off or to bury it. How can I breathe into this area and reintegrate? It's a very secular way of going about life. I mean, even though I'm a spiritual person, I take a really scientific view. It's like where science meets spirituality, because meditation is, let's face it, spirituality.
Absolutely,
so
it is.
You can find information on my website, sarawebbsays.com.
And you have a book out. Tell us about that.
I do. My book is out. It is an art piece. And again, I alluded to the fact that I experienced some deep trauma, and I came out of the closet, and I got sober. So the book is 2 parts. It is called Look Lush, Looklush. The first 21 poems are about my rise from the ashes and the use of meditation by looking inside myself. And then the second 34 poems are about me getting sober and coming out of the closet. Talk about being in quarantine during COVID. I was 80 something days sober when quarantine hit. So I spent a lot of time at the beach.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time at the beach, and it's also, there are some, sultry poems in there, if you will, about
Okay.
my coming out of the closet, but really it's about healing, and healing
Yes.
requires injury. So it doesn't go into gross detail, but it
Hmm.
definitely is about my journey. And
Hmm.
hopefully by other people seeing this journey of 55 poems, which, trust me, there are other books in the works. This is just getting it out there to allow people another avenue, because I am very active on Instagram, but I know that a lot of people are not. And
Hmm.
so this is just a way to affect people on a deep level.
Well, that's beautiful. That really is. How long did it take you to put these poems together?
It took a few months to put together, but I've been writing, well, my whole life, but I've been writing these poems in particular for several years. And
Hmm.
I just decided to put them together in order to heal myself. I mean, people say that poetry is dead, but I say memes are poetry. Quotes are
Yeah.
poetry. It's
Right.
all over the internet. It's a great, you
Yes.
can read
Right.
my book in less than an hour. So it's a great way to
Yes.
reach people.
Yeah, sure. And again, the name of it?
It's Look Lush, Sara Webb.
Look Lush, Sara Webb. And again, what is your website?
It's sarawebsays.com, SarawebbSays. And my handle is the same on Instagram.
That's tremendous. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit about self-healing, self-care, handling stress, and meditation, which we all should be doing because it will make the world a better place.
Thank you, Robin.
Appreciate you joining us. And thank you for being with me today for Living Well with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll keep you updated on my most recent episode. Till I see you next time, keep living well.